What's up and good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to another video. You guys can see we still got this mess in the shop here. Snow's waiting on his new turbo to show up, and then hopefully this thing goes back together. But it is a good time right now to show the HSP track bars on this thing, though. Might have to start pulling some of these parts, and maybe we can use some of this stuff on the old mini truck, because that's what we're going to be working on today. The mini truck has been sitting here for way too long. Not finished. I've been like having an hour or two here and there to like kind of work on it, but I think this video we're going to dedicate to actually finishing the bed of the mini truck, because I'm sick of this thing being unfinished. In the last video that I posted, we got the mesh put on up here for our little overhead kind of storage area. I went ahead and welded everything from the top and basically just hit like 100 little welds all the way around. But this is super secure. And the best part is you don't see any welds up underneath, and it just looks nice and clean on this edge right here. So that part is done. Now I need to go ahead and cap off all of our open ends on our square tubing, which is there. Not a ton, but I'm gonna do like I did up on top here with these little horns, and I'm actually gonna weld them on, come in, grind it so everything looks like it's just one solid bar. Good thing is though, to make my job a little bit easier, I got some 1.5 inch flat bar, which is right there. So we're just gonna cut our little pieces, get those welded on. Next, I wanna add a couple of little tie down points to this thing. We were gonna at one point gusset this area right here to basically add some rigidity to the headache rack, because obviously this thing is like one big lever wanting to pull right now. But you'd be surprised at how freaking strong this is, and there's like barely any flex in it when you're yanking on it. So I really don't think we need the gussets, but I might just weld them in, like I said, just as tie down points. We'll make them really small so they're not in the way, and then we'll put a hole through it. That way we can strap stuff down if we need to. Now the other thing I need to work on is getting these little latches welded on. This is the original ones off the original headache rack that came with the mini truck. And basically what to do is your side closes, your little metal piece gets up in there, and then you lock it closed, like so. But when you tack weld it on, you just end up breaking it like I just did right there. These actually need to get padded out a little bit on this side. You guys remember, this bed was completely all kinds of tweaked and out of square. By the time we welded this up, it made it to like this gap was just a little bit bigger than when it was originally done on the original headache rack. So I actually needed to pull this off anyway. And I'm gonna put a little piece of metal behind it as a standoff to get it a little further out. Now GoPros like aren't my favorite way to film anything, but today is gonna require a lot of two hands. So hopefully you guys don't mind. I'm going back to like Rhino's forehead GoPro mode, and let's get to work. So this is the first part I'm gonna start with today, because this is the last thing that I was doing the other day. I'm gonna leave this little tack weld right here because it gives me the exact location I need for the little standoff piece that's gonna be in there. So I don't remember what this is from. We have this little like 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square tubing, which I think is gonna be perfect to make our little standoff. Grab the bandsaw here, use the old Hey Dude vise. Not gonna take a big piece here, so we'll cut like a 1 inch-ish piece. That's too big. She's a little warm. We're gonna grab the die grinder here to clean it up. And let me tell you guys, this has been like one of my most recent favorite purchases from Milwaukee. I went on Amazon and bought a bunch of little types of pads for it. We got some 240 grit right there. I don't even know what these are called, but they actually work pretty well, and they're all in different grits. Some 120 grit. And the cool thing about these is you literally just unscrew them, boom, screw your new pad on there, and you are good to go. This also came in the kit from Amazon. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll put a link down in the description for you guys, but super convenient kit to have. Just chucks in right there onto the die grinder, and you are ready to go. Hopefully this is cooled off enough to touch it. Oh yeah, we're good. Just clean it up a little bit. Okay, we're gonna call that good enough. Next, we gotta raise this bed up because I gotta be able to get a clamp in here. Actually, that might work. Never mind. Bed stays where it's at. Clamp this booger in place. I'm on like week 3 of owning this Miller welder, and I am blown away by it. Every time I use it, guys, I am absolutely in love with this thing. Highly recommend it. Miller Multimatic 220. Hit up the homies over at West Air if you guys are local, or 2A West Air. I know they got a bunch of them in different states. Check them out. Get the welder plugged in, ground the truck, get our MIG torch. 16 gauge. We'll dial that down just a little bit more to 18 gauge. That 1/2 inch stuff I'm using is pretty thin. I don't want to blow through it. I feel like I need to get a GoPro attachment for my welding hood here, because I don't think y'all are gonna like this view. Should hold it. Probably make sure this is gonna work before we go too far here. Probably gonna tack that on there. Which way does it go? That way? That way? Maybe that way?
All right, I think we got it.
And we're gonna call that right there is where that's gonna live.
Last test run before we fully weld it. Works perfectly.
Did I go a little overkill on the welds there? Maybe just a smidgen, but I wanted to make sure you can really lock this thing in and not rip anything off, and I think we are golden right there. The latch works perfectly. Now on to the next side, which is this piece right here. Again, these are just the ones I cut off of the old headache rack. I could probably make these in like 3.5 seconds, but you know, we're all about being green and recycling over here. I'm gonna squeeze this little piece back onto here. It'll all get melted back together once we weld it. I don't feel like trying to separate this the rest of the way. It's just so small and an absolute pain in the butt. Do a little squeezing in the vise here. Get that piece back flat. There we go. Sprite break. All right, let's figure out where this side wants to be. Use our metal marking pencil here. Height-wise, we're gonna wanna be about right there. It's my very scientific method, which means we're gonna clamp her maybe there. All right, clamp, you are not cooperating right now. All right, so I gave up fighting the clamp for whatever reason. That didn't want to clamp this on without it getting all tweaked. So she's resting on a magnet. Clamp's holding the magnet. Should be good enough here just to set it in there, tack it, and do a little test run. All right, let's see if that's enough to hold it while we test it. Door coming up. Oh. And we're a little bit too low there. Now, before we cut though, we're gonna try and be a little bit smart here, and we're gonna see where we had it last time. We know we need to come up from there, so instead of cutting it off and completely forgetting where we were, that made that line really thick, but we're gonna go right there. We'll call it. That should be enough clearance. Here goes nothing. We're gonna give that a second to cool. Did we get it this time? Oh, hold on. Oh, I think we got it. Now we need to get some plate here to make our little gussets slash tie-down points. We've got some pretty thick stuff here. I don't know what this is, 3/16 I would say, that Zach was using for a project. If we didn't have this little wing that I could cut off, I wouldn't use this because we'd use this for something else. But I think if we just chop that little side off right there, we'll be good to go. That's nice and heavy. So we'll just use this little extra piece right here to make our like angled gussets. Shout out to Dedic. I'm kind of borrowing this idea off of Dedic's flatbed that he built. Get some rough measurements here, I think. Honestly, 3-inch. We'll go 3x3. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe 4x4. Got a nice good corner right here. 4-inch by 4-inch. We'll call that good right there. Should leave us enough room to cut just a big enough hole to get a tie down hook into. Nothing too crazy. And well, speaking of Dedic, I think Dedic's the reason I can't find my hole saw kit. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I see a hole saw kit over here. Now, does it have the pilot bit? Of course not. We've done more with less. Okay, so change of plans. I'm just gonna grab the biggest drill bit I can find lying around, which is this booger right here. We're gonna chuck it up in the old drill press, and we're gonna call this big enough to get any tie down hook through. Peanut butter M&M's break. We're gonna try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. We'll get 2 out of 1 piece. There'll be just a hair off by doing it this way, but that's okay for this style of project here. Those will be our 2 pieces. Now I gotta say guys, I'd never really used a bandsaw till hanging out in my shop here and playing with Dedics. I love this thing. One piece done. Let me get my marks here. for our holes, so 5.5. We'll split that, we'll go 2 3/4. So I decided to shift it just a smidgen back, that way by the time we go and wallow out our hole, we've got plenty of meat right here that'll keep the hook from ever wanting to rip out. We're also not gonna be tying down super heavy stuff in the back of this thing. Now, if I can get this clamped up right, I'm gonna try and go through both at once. Don't recommend doing that, especially if this thing hooks. This is gonna be like quite the ninja star flying around here. Am I super sold on my clamp job? Not exactly, especially considering they're like sitting at an angle, but we're going for it. We'll just, you know, keep our stomachs here back a little bit. And we're gonna go nice and slow, even though this thing's spinning pretty fast. All right, other than the fact that I think that hole is too small, that actually went really well. Oh ho ho, guys, I might have saved the day. Just found a step bit here, although it means we're gonna have to unclamp those and we can't do them at the same time. But I also literally found every size chuck that's too big for the small hole saw set. These fit the big hole saws. So I come down far enough now, maybe. Go up a little bit higher. All right, we're gonna use a die grinder here. We'll swap out our head that we were using to sand. Hopefully this chucks up here. Is it the right size? Maybe, maybe not. Clean these holes up. All right, that one's good. I feel a lot better about that size hole. I think a tie down will go in there just fine. Now, my original plan was these were gonna go about right here. That way they can attach like firmly to this piece of 1/8 inch square tubing going up. But I have a feeling, let's see, we gotta make sure we got enough room to get a hook in there. I mean, maybe we might be going sheet metal to sheet metal, but I might have put my hole too far back. Oh no, it works. I mean, technically it'll go right there. Just, can you get it in and out? No, not without the bed sides down. I mean, we could go there. We could burn through this. So most of our strength's gonna come from welding it into this 1/8 inch square stock. All right, so if I notch out this little bottom, we'll get past that weld, be able to suck up, and I think I'm just gonna try and burn through that 18 gauge or whatever that is into the 1/8 inch. Is that how welding works? Okay, Chris says that's how welding works, so we're gonna do it. We know on the other side, we got plenty of clearance, because that side's all like pushed out and weird. All right, guys, so this is about as good as we're gonna get here. We're gonna put this in place. Remember, we're only dealing with 1.5 inches, so we're probably going to about right there, give or take. We're gonna shift her over, make sure she's squared up. And then again, I'm just gonna try and burn through this 18 gauge. We should have plenty of meat there, considering this is 3/16, this is 1/8, that this will just get out of our way. All right, buddy, before I go ahead and ruin this by welding downhill right there, what do you think about that weld?
It ain't bad.
It ain't bad, right? I mean, I think we're slowly starting to get better, guys. We're slowly starting to get better. Now let's ruin it by doing that blowing through whatever trick. That got weird. I mean, it started to eat up through it, but you can see it like did some weird stuff once it did. Now this side, because of that weird, again, discrepancy in the bed that bought us that like 1/2 inch right there, we're not gonna run into any of those issues of having to burn through this plate to get to the actual 1/8 inch. So we'll see if my welds look any better. Probably not. And in case you guys haven't noticed, this is like my learn to weld project. So as long as it's stuck together and it don't fall apart, we'll work on the pretty. Now again, I feel like I've got the horizontal welds here down halfway decent. Then I go ruin it with my vertical weld. Oh, ho, 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 ho. That might be the ticket. To a real welder, this might not be pretty, but to me, I think that's pretty decent for a downhill weld. Hopefully it shows up good there on the old GoPro. I'm gonna take that. That's a win right there. We'll just blame the other side on like having to burn through that sheet metal doing weird stuff, you know? Now, unless I come up with something different between today and tomorrow, the welding is kind of essentially done other than capping those 4 pieces, which we're gonna do right now. We'll lower the bed back down here, make sure everything's clear. We'll get our pieces cut, again, using our bandsaw. Okay, this is gonna be the fun part, is all of this is radiused.
So we're just gonna weld it on. We'll grind those radii. She also ended up being a little fat right there. We thought about that on the front. I've got the magnet holding that little plug in place there. We're gonna turn our machine settings way down. So that actually ended up sealing up pretty well. So a little bit of grinding action there. And again, this is gonna have a little step in it right there. We didn't perfectly account for that extra 1/8 inch on top. So is what it is. It'll have just a small little hump, but we'll get that ground down, cleaned up. We'll grab the die grinder. I gotta say, I think it turned out pretty decent. Minus that little bump, but again, not a whole lot I could do about that without like cutting that first and grinding it down. We got 3 more spots to cap. Probably not gonna do that tonight. We'll have to continue that tomorrow. See you guys in the morning. All right, y'all, so went ahead and did all of my little fills on the ends here. Just wanted to knock that out real quick this morning. Probably sick of hearing me talk about them. Obviously, these square tubes were all welded together. And you kind of like play a tricky game of where to stop grinding and where to just leave welds, which like those welds are staying. I'm not gonna sit there and try and grind that smooth, but obviously that joint that we made, we wanted to grind smooth. So in grinding these end caps right here, it ended up that this weld got ground down. But you can see that sometimes these welds, when you heat it up, it kind of insets a little bit instead of the weld like coming up on the surface. So if you're trying to like chase that hole out, you're gonna end up grinding a big divot in it. We don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna end up filling these right now with some weld, re-grind it down a little bit. That way it's a nice flat surface, not weird and divoted in. I'm gonna have to end up doing the same on this side, so we'll grind that smooth, fill it, weld it, whatever it takes. And there's my little fill passes. Grind that bad boy smooth, and we're gonna call that good. She's pretty much sealed up all the way around. Again, we didn't really account for that extra 1/8 inch. That's why there's that little bump out right there, but is what it is. We're calling that good. We are officially, well, hold on. We're almost officially done with welding. I need to fix one of my plug welds from the back side here. This is when I first started doing it. I had no idea what I was doing. The back ones are all holding great, but we had one loose one up front here, so I don't want to hear that while I'm driving down the road. All right, let's raise the bed up here. She's going to need a little assistance. Oh no, the battery's gonna die. Don't die. Oh, a little more battery in her. It's only a little sketchy, dog. Just don't stand under it. All right, so somewhere up in here, she's still a little bounce. So I think I'm gonna cut a little piece of 2-inch square stock here. Stay. Weld it from this piece and just straight up. And that'll hopefully give us something to weld to and get rid of that bounce. Do a little check on our fit. Oh, she is snug. Just how we want it. I'm gonna grind the top of this a little bit, and we're not gonna be able to weld it all the way around. Again, this is just kind of gonna be like a spacer, and I'll just lightly weld it around here so we don't burn through this sheet of 14 gauge. Now, I don't know where my sandpaper is, and I can't get a grinder in here, so we're just going to do this the old-fashioned way. What if I go sideways? I use a little piece of that 1/2 inch. Let's see if this fits. If this fits, I might just go weld, and that'll be our standoff. Oh, like it was meant to be. Okay, that's what we're doing. Close your eyes, buddy. Now I'm gonna venture and say absolutely zero precision went into this. She ain't the prettiest. but she's in and should serve its purpose there of getting the little pop and spring out of the sheet metal up there. So we'll wait till it cools. You can see it kind of raised up a little bit with the heat, but lower this back down. We'll give it a test run, but I think we're gonna be A-okay. It ain't like we're throwing big old boulders in the back of this thing. And if we do, we just keep them on the back because it ain't gonna wanna dump them anyway if they're on the front. Move the welder up out the way here. We're gonna lower the bed back down. Then I think we're gonna head over to the store, grab some rattle can, and I've gone back and forth on this 100 times. I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll rattle can this whole bed black. Then it's gonna get really hot. Maybe I just rattle can it white and then it all matches. Maybe I actually do like a roll-on bed liner on the actual metal part right here, but then, you know, we can't slide stuff on and off when we're dumping with it. But I think it'll slide anyway. You're gonna tell me a little bit of grit's gonna keep like tree limbs from sliding off when it's at this angle? I still haven't decided. And even though I don't want to, because me and super thin sheet metal don't get along, I should probably seal that edge up considering Zach already did it on that side. Guess we're not done with the welding. A little bit more, 5 more minutes, that'll be sealed. And with that monstrosity of a weld, we are gonna call the welding on this bad boy officially done. Now, Chris made a great recommendation. Instead of hopping in one of our trucks, well, I guess this is technically my truck, and going to the hardware store to get some paint, why don't we just take the mini truck? And it's honestly like the ideal opportunity to get all of this dust and crap to blow off of it before we start painting everything. So really haven't taken it far since we've gotten the governor taken off of it. So this will be a fun little trip. Now we need to see if she'll start. The battery was super low there when we were trying to lift the bed. Oh, she might work. Come on, baby. Oh, we're so close. Hey! Oh, thanks, buddy. Give me a push off. Tight squeeze, tight squeeze. Oh yeah, easy day, easy day. You ready, buddy? Oh, you getting the mirrors adjusted? I don't even know with like a GoPro wide angle lens if it's like big enough to show in here. Come on, guys. I don't know if I've ever worn. Oh, there we go. Bye, Sergio. All right, let's open this girl up now. Whoa, what was that? I don't know, why is it like... No, it's not in gear. I got my foot on the clutch, but it's... Ging. Why is it doing that? We shouldn't be hitting the rev limiter. We're gonna get killed by a semi. Maybe it doesn't like that speed sensor's disconnected. It was working great the other day. Turn it off, turn it back on. Oh. Blowing it? Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see for how long. Yeah, your fix didn't work, Chris. Jesus Christ. It's like still doing it, but I don't really want to cross the intersection like this. See what happens if we plug the speed sensor back in. Come on, booger. All right, speed sensor's plugged in. See if we fixed it, but put it back into lame mode. We got this, buddy. Hold on tight. We're just gonna have to run it with the governor on right now. Oh man, it's a dead end. We're gonna get out of here though. It's the joy of driving a mini truck, man. Ain't no such thing as dead ends. Coming through. I mean, if lumber wasn't $1 million right now, I'd say we just buy a ton of lumber to try out the new rack. Oh good, you locked the door? Okay, cool. Other one, another one. Robbing the place. All right, buddy, we need a Rust-Oleum Professional. Ooh, high performance enamel white. We went with a machine gray. Grab us some primer. Probably 2 cans of primer. 2 cans of gloss white. Or do you think we're gonna need more?
You need more.
More? Three cans of gloss white? I mean, we ain't painting the whole thing. We're just painting the bed. Wait, you found the solution?
Found a solution, man.
What is it?
Flex seal.
Flex seal?
Yeah, just using flex seal, man.
What can you do with it?
You'll float in the water.
Okay. You sure we shouldn't just go gray and like paint the whole thing?
Like the whole thing?
Yeah.
Like everything?
Like the whole thing. You vibing out? You vibing out? All right, so, oh, nice spin. We decided to go full color change here. Wait for it, wait for it. The dark gray there. This thing looks good in a lumber yard. Dang. Well, I'd say we'd put the bed sides up so we could throw this back there, but Chris took the tailgate off and yeah, that's not back on. You really, I don't trust that up there.
Why not?
I mean, it would probably stay, but one speed bump and it's gone. These things aren't meant for a whole lot of carrying inside the cab. I'm just gonna take the parking brake off now. Hey man, you wanna take that off? All right, perfect. Hey man, I'm kind of regretting going gray now that I see like the whole interior is white.
Yeah.
You think we should go white? Didn't really think this one through, ladies and gentlemen. Hey man, you want to get that parking brake? All right, perfect, we're here. See, I don't really know what we're gonna do about all of that. Maybe we just do like the old Earl Shaft paint job and we're just taping the door jambs here somewhere. It ain't that much to paint. I mean, considering we're taping stuff off, I'm taping this off. I mean, it's already got overspray on everything here, but I think this thing's gonna look cool a different color. Everybody in the world has a white mini truck. Not that many people have a gray mini truck. This thing, in my opinion, is too far gone without going like insane amount of time and money to do a full restoration on it. You guys can see like the rust getting eaten through over here. So we're not going crazy with it. We're just gonna slam a couple cans of paint on her and see if she looks cooler than she does now. All right, start prepping. Let the intense cleaning begin. Shout out to Sergio for bringing over this masking plastic vinyl stuff here. This is making it a lot easier. Just lay it on, rough trim it there, peel her back, and there we go. Might run another little strip of tape around there just to completely seal that edge. Definitely saved a lot of time. Try and use some scraps here because this stuff's not cheap. Let's see if we can do this whole light in one go. Oh, close, a little short. Splice that in with some tape, a little trimming. I know one thing, guys, don't ever want to be a body shop guy. Run a little bit more tape just to make sure that edge stays secured because it is windy out here. Now we got to figure out window situation because one has glass, one doesn't. I put the tape on from the backside. I was just gonna like mush plastic up in there and then trim it. Try to not cut my wiener. Oh, hey buddy, what do you got there?
I got a Pop-Tart and chai tea latte. Dirty chai tea latte.
Oh, you're just so dirty. Let's see if this works. Now most of the stuff I'm taping off here probably would be a lot easier if I just removed it all, but where's the fun in that? I think they repaired that one a time or two.
Jesus.
Look at all the epoxy and is that a wall anchor in there? All right, y'all. She's about as masked as she's gonna get. We're gonna act like we didn't just see that pop off right there. There's gonna be some overspray. There's gonna be some door seals that are gonna get paint on them. I did my best to mask everything, but keep in mind, like, this is what we're dealing with that's already here. This thing isn't gonna be perfect. I don't need it to be perfect. I'm not that worried about it. I think it'll just look cooler gray. Am I regretting not just buying white paint and doing that white? A little bit. It is also super, super windy right now. You'll see this plastic blowing around. Gusts keep coming through here. I would do it inside, but we got Snow's truck in there. I don't want overspray getting on his truck. So we're just gonna fight the elements right now. Let's start with a little primer. Well, y'all, this is not going quite like I had planned. First of all, my primer did not get me near as far as I thought it would. And then this gray is not quite as dark as I was hoping. Big shout out to Rust-Oleum over here for 2 defective cans of the actual paint color that we're using. Get about a third of the way through and then just start getting all splattery and like low pressure, and they suck. Plus, fighting this in the wind has been a pain in the butt. Wish I had some shop space to go into, but if Snow's truck wasn't in 10,000 pieces, I'd pull that thing out. So clearly you guys can tell I don't care about the tires. Tires and wheels are going to change on this thing. So this is about as far as we've gotten. She's got some runs in her because it being so windy, you got to spray so close. Plus we're also like exposing a bunch of runs that you couldn't tell that were already there in the white. White hides a lot, we're finding out right now. It's a lot more dense and stuff in this thing than I had originally thought. Didn't even really get to the bed other than a little bit of the headache rack that we built. Front, kind of the back side, and then I primed like this whole edge right here, but she needs a ton of paint. I'm regretting not just going white right now at this point. And I should have just gone white with like a roller like the previous guys did and rolled all these sides on and then like use a brush on the top sides of the bed here. Chris over there, ain't looking bad, buddy. That ain't looking bad. Still a little splattery. Well, I was able to find one more can, and the cab is essentially done here. I'm sure once everything dries and I get it back in the sunlight, you guys can probably see the sun's going down outside there. Then I'll see a couple little light spots that I might touch up. But Chris brought up a good point. I wonder if we should do the bed in a different color, like black or something like that, to make it kind of not look like you just took one can and sprayed everything. I don't know, I might play around with that idea a little bit. I do wish this color wasn't so primer gray. Kind of turned out pretty primer gray. I'm not about to redo it though. It's better than white, I think.
Damn. Yeah.